and for his blessings. He has now come in our midst. He's with us. We don't see him as a spook. Right. That's right. He's no spook. He's a live man. He's a living God. I'm sorry that I have not asked you to sit down. You look so beautiful, and I don't want you to sit down.
And a guest, and maybe he could help me to convey a message to you. He's my friend. I like him a lot, and I'm going to tell you why I brought him in and why I think he's important to the future of you learning about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And his name is Yosef bin Asiel Israel. Salam alaikum.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, who appeared in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom righteous and holy praise is forever due, we thank that great God for his coming to the wilderness of North America to raise up amongst us the first begotten from the dead. That special soul, I speak none other than the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. In those holy and righteous names, I greet you in the words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. We'll be right back after these quick commercials. Looking for something that feels good, looks great, and stands the test of time? Well, we have it for you. Black Royalty is our athleisure line that is made from the finest bamboo and cotton blend. We have designed high quality tracksuit and t-shirts in multiple colors that provide you the most comfort when you need it most. Whether you're in the gym or running errands or just lounging around with loved ones, you need to be in the best quality clothing as possible. We have constructed a high quality clothing line that does not break the bank, and we beat out all of our competitors on price. So please, if you're interested in being comfortable, not just in the gym, but when you're running around and doing errands, please visit blackroyaltywear.com. Also, you can find us on Instagram at Black Royalty. And if you have any questions or comments about our brand and how you can help participate, you can find us at blackroyaltywear@gmail.com. We'll be quick to answer your questions, and with our responses, we will be very thorough. So also, like I said, Black Royalty is for you because it was made by you with the intentions of serving you. So leave all those other clothing lines behind and get on what makes sense, something that's going to stand the test of time, because black don't crack. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back again to another installment of Know Thyself radio show, where we make it our business, our duty, our responsibility to give you nothing but the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I would be remiss if I don't mention that great man without mentioning the God that traveled all the way from the east to the west to raise up that perfect example. So I have to give all honor and praise to God in person as Master Farad Muhammad, to whom righteous and holy praise is forever due. And I can say that without any fear or favor, even as a Hebrew, because when you know truth, you have to bear witness to it. I can't say that I'm a believer of God and those who he has revealed to us through scripture and not believe in his manifestation of his love for his people in the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and him bringing himself in person of Master Farad Muhammad to be that teacher, that guide, that example, that one who would give him a knowledge that no one can destroy. So as scripture and Quran bears witness to the coming of that Son of Man, it so came to fruition in 1930, July 4th. So I am eternally grateful for that God to travel and to raise up from one of us that first begotten from the dead, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And for that, I am eternally indebted to serve the purpose of the mission of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so when I say that it is our duty, our responsibility, our obligation, I do not say that half-heartedly or with any type of confusion or fickleness of mind. I say that in the absolute, because we believe as students of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, whether we be Hebrew, whether we be Muslim, whatever you describe yourself, because naturally, by nature, you're a Muslim if you're of the original seed. But if you practice something else, but if you know what this man has taught to be true, you have a responsibility, as I said, to bear witness to that truth. And so it is an honor and a pleasure to be here to have the ability to present what his words, his teachings, and his example has done for me. But every so often, as I've said before, I have the privilege to have someone bear witness with me. And brothers and sisters, I always, people thank me for my introductions and say, I'm kind of, as the young people say, boosting them up. But everything that I speak is absolute truth from where I feel. And to have the pleasure and the honor to have such a brilliant sister, such a bright and vibrant and articulate sister come on to bear witness to the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is an honor and a pleasure. The messenger of God teaches us that no nation can rise above their woman. And if this sister isn't a prime example, and other sisters like her who share this same mentality that reside in that beautiful temple that I am about to mention in one moment in Camden, New Jersey, they also bear witness to this truth. So I want to introduce to you, my wonderful listening audience, my beloved sister, a friend, a companion in this great work, Sister Noor Muhammad from Camden, New Jersey, Temple number 20. Assalamu alaikum, my sister.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Yosef. It is a blessing and a privilege to be with you, to be recording live with Know Thyself Radio. I'm very excited, and thank you so much for that beautiful opening.
No, I thank you. And like I said, we as men, I feel, are duty bound to uplifting and empowering our sisters, because you are our strength. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the black man's heaven is in the arms of the black woman. So if we don't have that reconnection, and I don't mean physical, but I mean in spirit, I mean in purpose, for our women to be believers as we are, to be in this mission as we are, to continue this work as we are, is nothing but a gift of God, and to show that we are, again, a people who are perpendicular and arise from that dead state of being. So, it's an honor and a pleasure. But I can go on and on, sister, but this is about you, and I want to give weight to you. So if you can, just take a brief moment and tell the audience why I am so enthusiastic about having you on Know Thyself Radio. So if you can just give us a brief little history about, who you are, what you do, and how you came into the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Oh, praise the due to Allah, brother. To bear witness to the wonderful man, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who brought me this far. I don't know how brief I can be, but I will definitely do my best. But like yourself, brother, I too have to begin my words by bearing witness that there is no God but Allah, who appeared in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And I also bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is his last and his greatest messenger. And I know, brother, that those who are listening to your show and they listen week after week and they hear you open in the name of Master Farad Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that might seem strange to those who are unfamiliar with these two powerful men. And I don't want you to turn away. I don't want you to turn off the show. Those who are listening, I want you to keep listening and see if what Brother Yosef says week after week and what you hear I say this evening, if it makes sense to you. We're not asking you to believe in those two men. We're just asking you to engage with us in this conversation. But brother, just to share my history, I learned about the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad when I was a student at Rutgers University. And my roommate, I was there for a summer program. I was an EOF student, and I was living in Camden on the Rutgers Camden campus. And I had a roommate who was visiting the mosque, and she invited me to come out. And that sister is Sister Shabri. And that was in 1994. And brother, when I tell you, when I came to the temple and I heard what the minister was teaching, my mind was totally blown away. It was something that I'd never heard before. Yet, brother, the minister was answering questions that I've never uttered out loud. The question about the social inequality with Black people compared to white people, the family orientation of the Black community, the way Black people felt about themselves and related to each other. This man really seemed to have all of the answers. And it was as if I wrote all my questions down in a diary and he answered them. And I was just so struck. I was just so in awe. And in fact, I remember my first thought when I walked into the auditorium. If you remember the movie Malcolm X and the scene where Malcolm was a minister and he was teaching, and Shorty, played by Spike Lee, was in the audience. It was as if I walked into that scene. It was almost identical. And I just sat there and I'm like, wow, this is just like the movie. And so as I was just so intrigued, and I started going week after week. And once the semester started, the fall semester, I continued going. And it was almost as if I was taking a fifth class. So I had my 4 classes that I would take during the week, but I also had this class that I would attend on Sunday afternoons and Wednesday evenings. And it was just so complementary to so much of the academic lessons that I was getting, but it was a clarifier to the academic lessons. And as I listened to the ministers, I recognized that this was the answer, at least socially, psychologically, economically. This is the solution. This is what I needed, what I didn't know that I was looking for. It was the missing piece for me. And so like with so many of us, the spiritual part came shortly after that, but it was definitely the economic, the psychological, the social, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad really helped me to understand where I fit in the world, why the world was upside down in the way it was. And the following year, by the following fall semester, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And I did what we call reclaiming our own. And I reclaimed my own as an original member of the Black family, as a sister in the Nation of Islam. And this has been a wonderful journey. And the sisters that I was visiting the temple with all those years later, we are still working together in this same temple in 2020. And now we find ourselves operating in the leadership capacity of the sisters who welcomed us when we came in. So it's just been a wonderful journey. And in this time of me being a member of the Nation of Islam, I've had so many wonderful opportunities under the leadership of Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad, who is he's our administrator and the local representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in Camden, New Jersey, and the Delaware Valley. And he's done such a wonderful job really integrating us into the broader landscape in the city of Camden, New Jersey, where our temple is. Temple number 20 is in Camden, New Jersey. And that's the city where I live, the city where I do my community-based work. But he did such a wonderful job. You know, so often they see members of the Nation of Islam as kind of a strange sect, you know, while there may be Christian leaders, Catholic leaders at the table when policies and conversations regarding, you know, the plans for the city are there. Well, Brother Minister, in establishing not just the temple here in the city, but also our independent private school, the Muhammad University of Islam, where we have our children being educated by educators who love them, who know the true history of our people, and who are edifying our children with a knowledge of themselves and responsibility in their civic engagement, a heavy emphasis on discipline, in addition to all of the academic rigor that they're supposed to receive. So as the city was evolving, Camden was a city that was number one in crime. I remember, you know, I think it might have been about 2012. It was the most dangerous city in the country. Even though it's a very small city, it was still ranked as the most dangerous city. And so as the city was beginning to start working towards a renaissance, the city leadership at the time, specifically former Mayor Dana Red, she really pulled Brother Minister into the revitalization plan of the city. She saw what he was doing with our small community there of Muslims at the temple, and cleaning the streets, getting the brothers off the corner, selling drugs, literally sweeping the streets every day and every afternoon, and just really improving the community. And what they saw him doing was really what was needed all around the city. So she invited us into the broader spectrum of Camden, New Jersey, and shortly thereafter, I found myself engaging with the young people in the city, working on gang abatement, working with them with diversionary programs to minimize and reduce involvement with law enforcement. I go into the state prison where young women reside and work with them. And, you know, I mean, there's so much more I can say, and I don't say this to brag. You did ask me to share some of my journey, but I just share this to show our people that we can have the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, be Muslims, as sisters cover our hair. And there's still really no place where the wisdom can keep us from, because what we have is an effective remedy for the people. And, you know, we don't pretend not to be who we are. We don't pretend not to serve and worship the God that we are. We don't pretend to not understand the disparities or speak to them that has been induced because of white supremacy. And so although we don't shy away from that, others haven't shied away from us. And I can also add, Brother Yosef, that I am a city committee member here in the city of Camden on the executive leadership team. And I'm also the vice chair of the Camden County Cultural Awareness Commission. So I just say that to say that we have fortunately been fully integrated within our city, our county, and our state, and yet we're still representing the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Sister, I had to put the microphone on mute because I'm over here so elated listening to you speak, because it truly, for me, it shows the transformative power of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You mentioned how Camden, this small little town outside of Philadelphia, was ranked the most crime-ridden city in America. And we're talking about New York, we're talking about Chicago, where I reside, LA, Miami, all these places that get this bad rap that we know are promoted on television as stay away from, especially the black community part. But you, being in this small town, knowing all of that, you, one, never said that you were afraid, or you, the members of the temple, were afraid to go outside or to interact with the community. It almost propelled you to even be more proactive, because now you know, hey, I have this power, which is the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that will save our people's lives. And it will make a difference. And as you can see, it's evident that not only the people responded, but the leadership, who in a lot of cases are some of the adversarial forces, as we try to be a remedy for our people, had to bear witness and say, hey, we need your help, you know? And that's such a beautiful thing for me. So I want you to talk about what was, because you talked about when you came in the leadership of the women, how you were able to rise. What was the main difference? Because we get a bad rap in the Nation of Islam, especially under the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, about this castration of our women. Can you talk about the difference of how you were perceived, or how you see women that were mostly in the world, and then how you came to the Nation of Islam, and how all the misnomers were pretty much taken away once you were able to get into that environment?
Wow, brother, that's an important question. So as I said, when I first encountered the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I was 18 years old, and I was a new student at Rutgers University. I was a new student in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so, that's a particular age, or it should be a particular age, where there's a lot of debate, a lot of exploration, a lot of conversations. And we had those. I mean, we had our detractors on campus. And brother, I'm not just talking about those who criticized us because of our choice to be Muslim, who were Christian. I'm talking about even what we would call so-called Orthodox Muslims. Brother, they would snub us. They wouldn't return the greetings to us. And I didn't understand it at first. I'm a new Muslim, and I didn't understand. I thought, well, we're both Muslim, right? But even they did not accept us. And I remember, just sitting in study rooms, and just people encircling us and debating us, and in some cases trying to insult us. But brother, the wisdom that we had from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad just has a lasting power, and it cannot be defeated. And so that's why so many conversations would, sometimes devolve into, well, you're just not a believer. Right now, they couldn't really run that on me because I grew up in the church. So I had a Christian background. I knew the Bible stories that they were throwing at me. And when they said, well, you have to have faith. And I said, well, give me something to have faith in. I've been looking for 18 years, and I want something tangible. I want something that's going to make sense and really produce and manifest something that's real. And they weren't able to give me that. They were only able to return criticism. And I'll tell you, brother, some of these same sisters I come in contact with, and they see me doing the same thing, being a Muslim, being a sister, covering my hair all of these years later, and they see us with respect. And so there has been an unfortunate depiction of a Muslim woman. I remember, hearing them say, Muslim women are dumb, barefoot, and pregnant. I've never been dumb. I've never been dumb. I've been pregnant. My husband and I, we have 2 beautiful sons, but I've never been dumb. And I've never not had. So I didn't need to be barefoot unless I was walking on the beach. So, people throw these things at us. They say, oh, well, you have to walk so many feet behind the man. And I say, well, I don't have to walk any feet behind my man, but if there is uncharted territory, or if there is dangerous territory, I need my man to go ahead of me and civilize the savage and make sure the environment that we are bringing, not just me, but our family into, is safe. So yes, I will walk behind my husband if I think, or he thinks, that there's danger that lies ahead. And that's only smart. That's only intelligent. So, we have really helped the sisters at Temple 20. We've really helped to dispel so many of the myths, because they see us outside of the temple. They see us working in the community. They see the respect that our brothers have for us. And they see the intelligence that we have. And I'm glad that we're able to touch our people in so many different areas, brother, whether it's the religious community, the political community, those who are involved in education. Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad is the vice president of the Board of Education here in the city of Camden. So we're able to touch our people wherever they are. And that's what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gives us. He gives us an ability to have an ability to speak to all people, right? Speaking in tongues. This is what he's been able to provide for us. And now, as you said, brother, the leadership in the city and in the county and even in the state, seek our assistance. And we're happy to give it, because what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us isn't just for those who come into the temple. It's also for those who walk by the temple, who drive by the temple, who say they'll never come to the temple. It's even for those people as well.
Once again, all praises due to Allah. We are speaking with, as you can hear, one of the most articulate women you'll ever find, the most intelligent you'll ever find. And she was made by Muhammad, just so you be clear. The most
That's
honorable
right.
Elijah Muhammad. Sister Noor Muhammad is our guest, and I'm so happy to have her. Sister, I want to get into a lot of the things that you got going on in Camden, you and our beloved minister, and some of the personal endeavors that you have created to educate our people. But you said something I just want to touch on real quick. You spoke about two things that was just blatant to me, and I think I just want my list of the audience to kind of understand the importance of where I'm asking you this, or why I'm asking you this question, excuse me. You talked about being raised in a Christian background and having that as your base, so to speak. And a lot of people are very discouraged when they see some of the lies and deceptions that have been imposed on them through the false doctrine of Christianity, which has been given to us by our open and outright enemy. So I know you can go so deep into that, but the question I want to ask, you spoke about you having two beautiful young gods, and you're raising these strong men alongside with your husband. So can you talk about why, because I know you do, make it such a point that they understand what they have as the blessings of the teachers of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, since you came out of a deaf, dumb, and blind knowledge or background in the religion of Christianity, and so taught by our oppressors. So can you kind of tell, how do you approach making sure that they understand the importance of what they have?
That's an important question, brother. Well, first I'll say, when my children were very young, we, would talk to them about knowledge of self. We would talk to them, and read to them from Message to the Black Man, teach them about the world, teach them who they are. However, brother, it was also the culmination of a community. The believers of Muhammad's Temple of Islam number 20. It's one thing when we talk to our children about theories and about ideas and about what people should do and what people should not do. But when we can bring it into a reality and our children can witness it, that's a very, very important part of learning. And that's where we can convince them, right? It can just sound good when we're reading it from the book, but when the pages come off the book, or when we take the words off the book and create a reality with it, right? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in his organizational chart, it's him as the national leader. And then under that, it is Temple. And then under Temple, it is Muhammad University of Islam. And then from there, you have the retail and all of these other areas of industry that we have to get into. But Brother Yosef, we have to educate our children. We have to isolate them. We really do have to pull them out and teach them by themselves, because they can become so dissolved in the world. And I will say that my children started off in public school before we had Muhammad University of Islam. And so they started off in public school. And as Black boys, they had the challenges that Black boys do have in public school. And it got to the point where they were even saying, Mom, can we have our own school? And so by the time my younger son was in second grade that summer, after his second grade year, we piloted the Muhammad University of Islam. We did that through the summer, and then we started strong in September. And I'll tell you, we didn't think that we were ready. Right? We didn't, because, we didn't have the building that we have now. We didn't have the classrooms that we have now. We didn't have the technology that we have now, but we knew we needed to get started because we risked too much leaving them in the public school system. And I'm not trying to condemn our people who are educating their children in the public school system, but it's a dangerous place. Sister Shabri has a way of saying it. She's the director of our of our private school. And she has a way of explaining it or using a comparison that, anybody can go into a public restroom, right? There's no discernment or discrimination of who can use it. And that is similar to what public schools do in terms of education, right? We are witnessing them put in textbooks that African migrants came from Africa to work in the fields as if they were employees. Brother, our people were snatched, were raped, were robbed, were murdered, were lynched, were treated in a way that no people on the planet has ever been so destroyed in the manner in which they were treated. So there's a retelling of the history. There's a revisionist history that's being taught, but they want us to put one and one together and make two. They want us to make sense in math class, but when it comes to psychology, sociology, and history, they want to give us something that's tainted, that's thwarted. And when Black children are confronted by white teachers who don't have Black children at home, right? So think about the white teacher that has a white nephew, right? A white niece, a white son, a white daughter, a white godson, a white goddaughter. And so the white children are children that she can relate to. She understands how they behave, why they talk the way they do, their behaviors, their mannerisms. But when you have Raheem and Hakima in the classroom and she's not responding or he's not responding in the same way, then you think there's something wrong with this child. And they treat our children in all of their inherent beautiful goodness and energy as if there's something wrong. So in terms of how and why it is so important to give our children this, I tell my children, they are 18 and 16, almost 17. And, they're soon to both be graduates from high school. And I tell them, of all of the things that I can give you, of everything I can give you, there's nothing more valuable than the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, brother, because I want my children to grow up and be safe. And as I know it, Tamir Rice was shot when he was 11 years old. My son was 11 years old at that time. We're living under a serious threat, and that threat begins in school. So, I educated my children the best I could at home, but I also needed support. And we pulled them out of the public school and we put them in the private school. And they flourished. The teachers didn't see the children as strange or unusual. They were little Black boys and little Black girls with all of the potential in the world. And so we've been successful in watching our young people be cultivated into these beautiful intellectual and spiritual giants to the point where they're still in high school and they're teaching us. And so we aren't raising our children so that they can continue to be our children. We're literally raising them to be replacements. As Brother Munir Muhammad would always teach about, you have to be able to replace yourself because we're not always going to be here physically. So we must make replacements. And that's what we're doing with our children. And plus, it would be dangerous. It would be a disservice. And it would be suicidal to not give our children these teachings. But more importantly, if we don't manifest these teachings, then they'll be slower to come to understand them.
That's beautifully said. Once again, I'm just over here, just totally, elated and excited that, again, I have, by the encouragement of our late great Brother Munir, the one you mentioned, who was a great influence on us all. Whoever he touched, he was able to influence and push. Created a platform such as this that we can have these conversations, that we can put truth out there and dispel all the lies that have been told, one, about the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and himself, as well as how to be a catalyst for change in this world. You talked about Tamir Rice being murdered, gunned down in cold blood for playing in a park, which is a designated area for playing. It wasn't like and I'm saying your retort to that was, okay, we have to create our own, because we know even though all of our children, though too many of them are getting gunned down and murdered in the street, a lot of them are being murdered in the schools through the false and miseducation, through the indoctrination of the lies that have been, like you said, from the school book, telling our children that they came over here, one, as immigrants, to be on the workforce, as if, like you said, they had a choice.
Right.
And we're still suffering from a lot of the trauma that was imposed during those times. And we're now just reliving it and re-implementing it every day. So, I mean, man, you answered that so profoundly, sister. And I pray that our listening audience right now are able to receive your words and take it to heart, and may they use this to seek out the messenger and his teachings and his writings, so they can now have the blueprint for do for self.
Yes, sir.
But we talked about Brother Munir, and I know one of the things that we talked about before privately and, you know, on other platforms, but his inspiration in you developing your podcast and a lot of other things. So if you don't mind, my beloved sister, tell us about your podcast, which I had the wonderful opportunity to be a guest on, and oh man, we have to do it again, that's for sure.
Yes.
Because I thoroughly enjoyed myself. But if you can, tell us what your podcast is about and why is it so important for the discourse of our people learning about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Well, I am so excited about my podcast. It's Nora Speaks. That's N-U-R-A-H, Nora Speaks. And I, you know, just in speaking about Brother Munir Muhammad, he and Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad, they were both encouraging me to do a podcast. And I had already started an LLC working with young women and girls and young people in the community. And as they were encouraging me, I thought, wow, this could really be a platform to take what I do in my workshops and in my speaking and share it with a broader audience. And, you know, Brother Munir, you know, if he says you can walk on water, you start to believe it, you know.
Teach.
And he's so convincing, so supportive, he and Brother Minister. And I went ahead and I launched, and I did it before I felt really ready, because I know you learn as you go, and I didn't need it to be perfect to get started. And my podcast, as I say, tugs on the soul and consciousness of the Black community. You know, Brother Yosef, I think there's so many, we've gotten away from so many things that we value. Offline, we were talking about family. You know, we have to be reminded of what helped us survive those 400 years. You know, those principles and mores. We suffered, yes, but we had community, even on a plantation. And although there was the house Negro and the field Negro, the way the field Negroes or field slaves were able to endure that, they did it with community, whether it was, you know, the singing, the songs that they did while they were picking the cotton and tobacco, whether it was the one day off, the holiday, or the church that the slave master gave them, and they came together. They were not isolated, right? Even in the way that we were able to, so many were able to escape to freedom. They worked together collectively. And so, I believe that we've gotten away from so many key values, and we have to have stronger conversations. As I said, I'm active in my community, and I'll go to board meetings or city council meetings. And although our people, Brother Yosef, are advocating for the right things, most of the time, they're doing it with all of the wrong language. They're doing it with all of the wrong behavior. You know, some of our people think that protest is you standing up and shouting obscene or profane things, or uncovering and exposing people, right? And they think that's what protest is, walking down the street in droves with bullhorns, right? Well, we have an example of protest in Muhammad University of Islam. Our children were being miseducated and treated unfairly in the public school. So our protest was, we'll open our own schools. We don't need to condemn what's happening. So teaches the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when you put up a clean glass next to a dirty glass, it speaks for itself. And so one of my goals is to help our people think better and do better. And I have had wonderful guests like you, Brother Yosef. I've had Dr. Nicole Muhammad, who has so elevated a modest, high fashion, luxury brand of clothing. Sister Shabri Muhammad, Brother Munir Muhammad has been on my show, Sister Akila Muhammad. But I've had other people who are not Muslims because we enjoy friendships in all walks of life. So I've had mental health experts who do that. I've had people who run foundations and nonprofits and who have entertainment or media companies. So we're able to capitalize on the relationships that we have. And I take those relationships and I want to share a broader and progressive message with our people, because I think we've gotten away from that. We have people with microphones who really need the microphone snatched from them. And so what I say is, since nobody is snatching mics, then we need to grab up some mics. And I just want to continue to use my platform of Nora Speaks really to enlighten our people in various subjects. We talk about education. We talk about youth empowerment. And I've had young people who are youth leaders on the show. Women's impact and women's issues and civic engagement and so much more. And it's just been a wonderful journey. I celebrated 100 episodes in December. My last episode dropped, episode 105. The subject is family is the best social program. I see all of these social programs trying to help our people, help our young people. But I think we continue to ignore the most basic and fundamental program, and that's family. And I'm just really having a great time with the podcast, brother.
Oh, man. Over 100 episodes of pure truth and knowledge. Please, brother and sister, we're talking to Noor Muhammad. Go and listen to Nora Speaks podcast. You will not just be edified, you will be electrified, because you can tell by how powerful a speaker she is. You're going to get the spirit, you're going to get the energy, but you're also going to be elevated, because like she said, she's giving you all walks of life for the perspective of somebody who just wants to do right, who wants to build their own nation. So she's bringing in all these different people so that you can have the information and the understanding, but most importantly, remove the fear. Because fear, so teaches the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, is the worst enemy of the so-called Negro. Fear. That is one of our greatest impediments, is that fear. And like she said, the family structure, when you have that support group, when you have that balance, when you have those people around you that's working in unison to develop and create something, it removes fear. And as a man, my sister, I think that's one of the things that kind of helped elevate me, is because when I had a wife and I had children that I was responsible for, it, as the young people say, it put a battery in my back, and it made me be more attentive to everything that I'm doing. And then when I really started to understand the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I said, oh man, you don't have no time to play, brother. You have to be on point, because every decision that you make is going to directly affect those who you're responsible for. And as I was talking to my daughter, my eldest daughter, I have two, 7-year-old, well, she'll be 7 in March, and my 2-year-old will be 3 February 14th. I was talking to her, and we were I try to reinforce, like you were saying earlier, understanding the importance of these teachings, being comfortable talking to me about any and everything, and reassuring her that your father will not lie to you. I'm going to be honest and direct about everything, because I want you to know the truth, but most importantly, I want you to understand. So I always drive that in, even at this so-called young age, because we know these children are so advanced now. Like, what we think is appropriate for them, they already been exposed to 3-4 times, even if we try to show them to the best of our ability. So I just try to be as open and honest with it as possible. And when I heard you speak about, your husband taking charge and, canvassing the area before, the family proceeds, that's a mantra that I take on. I actually was just telling my wife the other day, I said, I refuse to let them, even when we come home at night from our doings, no, stay here for a moment, let me make sure everything is sufficient, and then we can come on in. It's cold in Chicago, even a lot of times to their detriment, but I always want to be conscious, because what we do, we put a target on our back, but we know the circumstances that we're in, it's just happenstance. People do some crazy things. So I'm saying all that to say is that what you're saying resonates with me so very much, and hearing you it gives me the perfect picture of how I want my daughters to raise into this understanding and this knowledge, because you're the perfect example of what a woman believer of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad looks like. And so I wanted to say that because you're truly inspiring me. And I want you also because you do your podcast, but I've seen you host Muhammad Speaks Radio. Speaking of our beloved brother, Minister Wasim, was something he had established to get the messages, teachings out. So if you could just talk to us about that a little bit and some other things that you got going on as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah, so we have a weekly radio show, Muhammad Speaks Radio, in which we share the life-giving teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Although the station is based right here in Camden, New Jersey, we broadcast out of that station. Listeners can listen to WTMR, that's the radio station. You can listen to that streaming live on WTMRradio.com, and WTMR also streams on TuneIn Radio, the app, and also on iHeart. And, it's a wonderful opportunity, brother, that we have to showcase the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And even on that show, we don't just express what we know is good and necessary for our people in terms of the teachings, but we also bring in local and national figures who can give insight and talk about current events in a relevant way. So we've had mayors on the show, and we've had city council members on the show, and we've had entrepreneurs and folks who work with our young people out in the field and out in the streets. And we've even, of course, we've had the members, the co-founders of CROW, Brother Halif Muhammad, Brother Shahid Muslim, and Brother Munir Muhammad, Brother Mandeen Muhammad has been a guest, which is, brother, that is a feat to get Brother Mandeen to the microphone.
Tell me about it.
And Brother Jamil Muhammad has been on, who's the host of Muhammad and Friends and the Munir Muhammad Show. And, we've even been fortunate to have Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan, call into the radio show. And as you said, Brother Minister Wasim Muhammad is the primary host, although, I quite often get an opportunity to host it myself, sometimes co-host with Brother Minister, and also have the opportunity to share the microphone with Dr. Nicole Muhammad, Sister Shabri Muhammad, Sister Catherine Muhammad, or even have sisters come into the studio to talk to me about things that are relevant, and impacting our people. And so Muhammad Speaks Radio Show is streams live, and it's live broadcast every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So that would be 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's every Tuesday. You can go to the Muhammad Speaks Radio Facebook page and follow us there. And also, I would also love to talk about another podcast that just launched in January of 2020. And it's a show that I do with Dr. Nicole Muhammad and Sister Shabri Muhammad, and it's called Lead, Teach, and Style. And so just to share a little bit of background about that, Sister Shabri, as I said, she's our director and principal, if you will, of the Muhammad University of Islam. And she's also the director of the child care center that we have. She's been a teacher for over 20 years, and she teaches international students online. And she's really a beautiful advocate, not just for students and children, but also for families and parents. And she's just a superb educator, and she really helps us understand the needs of the Black student. And so she's our teach portion, if you will, of Lead, Teach, and Style. And then, as I said, we have Dr. Nicole Muhammad, and she's a clinical psychologist by training and education. And she works with folks, dealing with mental health. But she also launched So Elevated, which is her high fashion luxury brand. And, she understands the intersection of fashion and what we wear and our mentality and mindset and what we think about ourselves, and also how what we wear impacts other people. And I think that she's done such a great job with that. And so she's the style portion. So that leaves me, I'm the lead portion of lead teaching style, kind of springboarding off the work I do with young people and working with young women and girls and helping them develop into leaders. And so our podcast, Lead Teaching Style, is not just streamed on podcast streaming apps, but we also upload the Facebook videos. We record each episode on camera and we upload that. And Brother Yosef, the goal of that is for us to reach our young Black women and our young Black girls. You know, so many of our young women are making awful choices. They're making terrible decisions, and it's because of what they think about themselves and what they think about others. And you know, if they could only have a big sister. You know, brother, we have MGT class in the Nation of Islam. It's a class that the sisters come to each week, Muslim girls training and general civilization class. And that's a class that we come to and we learn how to be women. We learn things that, you know, are no longer taught, like cooking and cleaning and sewing. We learn how to raise our children, how to keep a home, how to take care of our husbands. We learn our role in the community. We learn that a nation is going to rise no higher than its woman. But everybody's not coming to that class. And we have to have an opportunity or create an opportunity to take the principles from that class and share it with our community. Now, we are 3 Muslim women, but it is not a religious show. It is a show based on the universal principles of just love yourself, respect yourself, and make sure others do the same. But if our young women don't know themselves and don't know their value, they are making choices that are not just negatively impacting them, but it's negatively impacting the children that they're producing and ultimately the community. And so because a nation rises no higher than its woman, we can't just stand around idle watching our young women fall into these pits and into these ditches and be silent. And so, you know, the sisters and I, we've been, collaborating in so many different ways for so long now. Dr. Nicole Muhammad had the idea recently that we need to start this. We need to get this going. And so we launched in 2020. It's a monthly podcast because we are so engaged in other things, but we really want even our brothers who are listening to this, direct your sisters, direct your nieces, your daughters to this show, because we just want to share, some key elements of life that we should target, that we should pay attention to, so that we can go about making informed and wise choices to make it easier for ourselves. And the last thing I'll say about that, Brother Yosef, our Black women have associated living with suffering, like they're one and the same, right? Like hardship is just built into this life, and hardship doesn't need to be built into life. Hardship comes when we are not making quality choices, right? So everything adds up. When you have one thing on one side of the equal sign in the math equation, it has to equal what's happening on the other side. And because we don't have the input, we're not getting the adequate output. And we want to help kind of fill in some of those gaps. We have a generation of young women that hadn't had a mother figure. In fact, I'm a product of that generation that didn't have a mother figure. When our communities were hit by crack and heroin, then we had young women who weren't given so many principles that would be passed down from grandmother to mother to daughter. And because we have that disconnection, and we have children or young women who weren't raised by whole women in their right mind, women who were healthy, women who had the support and protection of a man, then we have some gaps. And what we want to do, Brother Yosef, is to help fill in those gaps so that we don't have to continue these generations of bad choices and these legacies of bad choices and hardship, pain, and suffering.
Once again, we're talking to our beloved sister Noor Muhammad, and this shows you, when you teach a woman, you teach a nation, because she and those sisters and what they're doing, they're in Camden, and what they're doing for our people all across this country and through the world through their vehicles of social media, we're able to get these teachings out and elevate the mind of the black woman, which we know was going to elevate us all, because you can't have a strong nation without strong women. Can't have strong children without strong women. Can't have strong men without their counterparts. So teachers, Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said you're only a half of a Muslim until you find your helpmate, you know, that equals to make you a whole. So we have to understand that. And I know we're getting late in the hour, and I don't want to hold you all night, but sister, I would be remiss because you're too knowledgeable and too intelligent and have too much to give our people. So I just want to, if you can, we're in Black History Month, African American, the so-called African American History Month. If it's one thing, since our people are seeking knowledge right now as it relates to their black selves, what would you implore them to look, research, to find out that will give them something that is substantial and tangible? What would that be?
Brother, they need to read Message to the Black Man in America by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You know, when I think about all of the leaders that have come before you and I, whether we're talking about modern times and we're talking about Cornel West or, you know, the rapping professor, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, or if we're talking about Frederick Douglass, W.E.B. Du Bois, you know, so many people have written so many books that try to address or fix or cure the issues that Black people are having. But there is one book, brother, that has all of the solutions. And not only does this book have all of the solutions in between the pages or from the, you know, between the cover and the back page, but these individuals that I mentioned, Michael Eric Dyson, Frederick Douglass, Cornel West, brother, these people write book after book after book, and they have not eradicated the problem within the Black man socially, economically, morally, spiritually, physically. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was able to do that, and those who follow him are able to, you know, Iyanla Vanzant is talking about fix my life. He's able to fix our lives. And so, you know, our people are just going around in search of knowledge. And, you know, we're so wasteful in, you know, going to these lecture series. And not that we shouldn't stay current on, you know, what our people are talking about or where our people have the greatest needs. We have to keep our ear to the ground. And I agree with that. But to go to these people in search of wisdom, and they have not been able to produce themselves of what they're writing in the books. Brother, we have the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was able to produce what he put in the book. And he was able to produce it with the people who were the worst treated ever in history. There are some people, you know, we have groups and organizations or you know, pockets of people who want to say that they suffered worse than us. And there is no people who suffered worse than us, because those people who make that claim, Brother Yosef, they still have their names. They still have their religion. They even have their lands. We don't have a name. We don't have our natural religion, and we don't have our land. And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and you know, it's Black History Month. I remember last year on the podcast, I was talking about how the governor of Virginia was talking about Black people coming to America as slaves. As migrant workers instead of slaves. And he said that he got this from scholars. And this is the governor of Virginia, who in fact has remained the governor of Virginia, the same governor that was in blackface. So we have these leaders and these, whether they're major or minor, whether they're entertainers who continue to insult us. We're going to those people who claim to be authority on the Black condition, who have not solved the condition that impact Black people. But those who read Message to the Black Man and implement the wisdom there, they are able to achieve the results that we need. So I would encourage anyone who wants to be enlightened to study that book.
Sister, I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. You know, as I was listening to you, you know, we studied Dr. Claude Anderson and Trivium to Economics, whether it's Dr. Amos Wilson, and the psychology, or Dr. Phil Valentine, the esoteric, or whether we want to study African history, Dr. Cheek Anta Diop, or anybody like that, Jacob Correttas. I mean, we look at those brothers, Dr. Ben, you know, we look at those brothers, and like you said, they're compartmentalized, and they did a great work. We appreciate it, but only one person has everything in its totality and makes it simple and plain. He uses a language, as the scripture says, that we would understand. And that's the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that further bears witness why we know, we're past the state of belief that we know that he was taught by God in person. So, sister, I mean, it's so much more we can go, but I mean, that's why I'm going to stop here so I can have you back so we can really delve into a lot of these issues. But I wanted the people to know you, and I wanted the people to have that same love that I have for you and appreciation that I have for you, that everyone has that comes in contact with you. I mean, you always leave us, you know, fully fed with the knowledge that you are disseminating, you know, from various perspectives and aspects of our culture. So I thank you again. So before we wrap up this wonderful conversation, is there anything that we need to know about that you have coming up, that the temple has coming up, that our beloved minister Wasim Muhammad, who we love dearly, has coming up? Is there anything that we need to be abreast to going forward?
Well, brother, what we have coming up is Founders Day, March 8th,
Absolutely.
in Chicago at the Coalition for the Remembrance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We are so eager to come out there and celebrate 33 years. You know, it's such a just a remarkable endeavor. And although we are in Camden, New Jersey, members of Temple Number 20, we are also Crow as well. We are one people, and I'm so excited to be celebrating with the believers there in Chicago. But I do want to let listeners know that they can subscribe to the Nora Speaks podcast wherever you subscribe, if that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Castbox. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Nora Speaks Podcast. And you can email me at Nora@NoraSpeaks.com. Again, that's Nora@NoraSpeaks.com. And you can also subscribe to the Lead, Teach, and Style podcast, also on Facebook and Instagram at Lead, Teach, and Style. Thank you so much, Brother Yusuf. I want to congratulate you on a wonderful program. You know, when I'm getting ready in the morning to, hit the plantation, as I call it, I put on Know Thyself Radio to keep me energized, to keep me focused. And you're doing such a wonderful work with that podcast. Your last episode talking about, the traumatic brain injuries, and the episode preceding with Brother Carlos Muhammad was such a touching and inspirational episode. And brother, just keep on doing what you're doing. I'm so grateful to have a brother that's in the same work in the same way. And, may Allah continue to bless you, brother.
Thank you so much. And again, it has been an honor and a pleasure. And inshallah, I will, after Founders Day, I have to make it a point to make it out there to Camden to just spend time with the family, and get that wealth of knowledge and experience and see all the beautiful things that Brother Munir and the co-founders were bragging about that you and the members of Temple Number 20 are doing out there. So definitely. And we have to have you back. And inshallah, we have our minister on here as well to have him bear witness. So again, I thank you all for taking your time, because you could have been anywhere or been doing anything, but you took time out of your day to listen to Know Thyself radio show, and we appreciate that dearly. But most importantly, take this information and do something with it, because that's what it's about. We want to use this platform to grow our people up, to inspire them, and to bring them closer to God and his messenger. So I thank my beautiful and wonderful guest, Sister Noor Muhammad, again for being on this wonderful installment of Know Thyself Radio. And I want to thank the one who made this all happen, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, as I leave you, as I greeted you, in the words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.